I discovered Meera's documentary last November. The Kabir Center in Montreal was doing South Asian Film Festival. They're doing it every year, so I encourage you guys, if you're interested, to go to the festival. It's usually, over 2 weeks?
It's 2 weekends in end October, early November.
End of October, early November, donc fin d'octobre, début novembre, c'est sur 2 fins de semaine. Ils ont une sélection de films qui est vraiment extraordinaire, il y a vraiment de tout. Donc j'étais là à la fin du mois d'octobre dernier, et c'est là que j'ai découvert la pièce de Meera sur les hijras, que j'ai trouvé fascinante. Donc je me suis dit que je devais absolument la voir pour mon exposition, pour mes événements, ainsi que la pièce de Mobin Ansari aussi, qui était projetée à cet endroit-là. Donc c'est grâce au centre culturel Kabir que j'ai pu découvrir ces artistes, ces visuels, et donc je voulais remercier spécialement le Kabir Center for this opportunity, and also Dipti and Karan, who was working there, that some of you might know, gave me, were really helpful, and those are the ones that gave me Meera's contact, so I could make her come and organize to have her and have the projection. So thank you very much for that. Is there any questions? Maybe we can start simply by that. Is there any question for Meera? I'm just here to open the things, but Meera is going to talk more, of course.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what inspired you to go over there and tell the story.
Yeah, so it's kind of a long answer, but I'll try and tell it in a sort of simple way. I can't speak French, so I can't translate anything, but I'll just try and...
Yeah, I can translate sometimes.
If you need to, yeah. So Transindia was my final major project at university, so my final graduation project. And during the time of when I was thinking for ideas, I knew I wanted to make something in India because, ideas and projects always lead me back to India. But we'd have themed lectures around different sort of topics. And in one of them, I had to go and research the attitudes of sex and sex culture and sexualities in different countries. So I chose India. I started researching about India, and I found some amazing facts and the history of it, and how sex was first found there, and the cultural significance and the religious context. And then I started to look at the current attitudes, and even just talking about it has become taboo. India had become this, or has become this prudish culture, and so I was quite confused and shocked by this kind of, the coin had completely flipped. It then led me to discovering different kinds of how sexuality was perceived in India, and at the time, homosexuality was quite, there was a conflict going on with the Penal Code Act, and there was protests, etc. And then I started looking at the hijras. I don't know if it was a conversation or I saw an image, but something, I don't know, happened, and I started to then think about my own encounters with them. And honestly, it was quite negative, in the sense that I only had negative rumors that my family had told me. And so as I started researching, I found these incredible things, that they had special powers, and you shouldn't look at them in the eye, otherwise they'll curse you, and I just wanted to find the truth. And that was where my journey began.
Pour traduire un petit peu, pour les personnes qui ne parlent pas anglais, Meera expliquait que c'était son projet de fin d'études, et qu'elle a commencé elle avait des termes qui avaient été donnés par l'université, donc elle a commencé à regarder les notions de sexualité dans la culture indienne, et puis de là, de fil en aiguille, elle a trouvé un peu des références sur les hijras, et du fait que Meera est indienne, elle est née en Angleterre, mais elle est quand même très proche de la culture indienne, et elle s'est rendue compte qu'à chaque fois qu'elle retournait en Inde, ou de ce que ses parents lui disaient, elle avait des connotations très négatives des hijras. Et elle s'est demandé pourquoi est-ce que j'ai une connotation négative des hijras alors que je ne connais pas du tout le sujet. Elle a continué de faire des recherches, et elle s'est rendue compte qu'il y avait énormément d'aspects très très mystique autour des hijras, et donc elle s'est dit que c'était sur ça qu'elle voulait faire son travail.
This is a very close community. You know, how did you get inside of that?
Access, yeah. So I'm really fortunate to have family in India. I don't think without them I'd be able to get as much access as I do. But in India, different districts have their own Hijra communities. So I told my family, I usually Skype them, usually every day, my grandparents are there. And I told them about my idea, and I said, this is what I want to do, you know, do you know anyone? And then my granddad visits a temple every morning, and opposite the temple there's a tea stall. And there's always a group of hijras there, you know, having tea and chatting, things like that. So every time he'd go past, they'd say morning and have a little chat, and then he'd go to the temple. So I remember that the day after, like 4:30 a.m., I received a phone call, and it was my granddad, and he just passed the phone to a hijra, and she was telling me her life story. I'm just like, whoa, I need to record this, and I'm also tired. But the point is that I started talking to them, and straight away there was like, you know, she was really intrigued in me, and I was intrigued in her. My grandma then went on a tour. She found a few hijras, she spoke to them, and they were really kind. I think even though I was fascinated by them, I think the fact that when she said, my granddaughter from, you know, England is coming over, they found that really interesting. She then added me on WhatsApp, and she passed my number to the whole community. So all these women messaging me, good morning, sister, good morning, this and that. And I just made friends with them, and now I'm still in touch with them. But it was really good, I think. Thank you, WhatsApp. Because the point is that I was able to build up that trust and rapport before I even stepped foot in India. So when I did go there, it wasn't weird or awkward. It was like we already knew each other. And I think that's where, with the access, it really kind of, helped. Thank you.
C'est vraiment intéressant de voir comment, je l'ai vu dans mes voyages en Inde aussi, à quel point les nouvelles technologies et WhatsApp, en effet, est très utilisé en Inde. C'est fou comme ça permet d'avoir des contacts. WhatsApp allows contact that we could never have before. Before, I remember 10 years ago, I was going to India and then I would come back. And that was it. It was a different world. But maintenant, j'ai des amis qui m'envoient des messages tous les matins en me disant namasté avec des cœurs et des fleurs et des petits chats. Et ça change le contact. La question étant, comment est-ce que Madame devant moi demandait à Meera comment est-ce que tu as fait pour rentrer dans la communauté, qui est une communauté très fermée. Et en fait, Meera répondait que c'était grâce à sa famille qui est en Inde, que son grand-père qui allait au temple, en face du temple, il y avait une communauté d'Hijra, et que c'est grâce à WhatsApp et avec le téléphone qu'elle a pu très rapidement rentrer en contact, que le grand-père de Meera est allé leur donner son contact et qu'elle a commencé à discuter avec eux. Et déjà, elle avait un pied dans la communauté. Et c'est ensuite qu'elle a pu partir et que les Hijras étaient très intéressés à la rencontrer, très curieux, qu'elle soit curieuse aussi de... I remember you told me yesterday when we were talking that they ask you, like, why are you so interested by us?
Yeah, so they would... they would say literally like, why are you filming us? What's so fascinating about us? So it was almost as if they wanted to document me rather than me documenting them. And they were, you know, when I talk about London and UK and stuff, they didn't know that Hijras and transgender people existed anywhere outside of India. So, you know, as many times I'd ask them questions, I'd get loads of questions back. But yeah, it was really fascinating. Yeah, definitely.
What was the biggest challenge that you had to face, like during when you were filming documentary?
I think the biggest challenge was I think access was really difficult at first because there's such a privatized community. So you've seen us filmed quite a few different people here. They're all in their different cities. They're accepted in some places they're not. So the women they're dancing with the baby, and they're all colourful and stuff. That's in a village called Mariette. Now, they live in that temple, and you're not actually allowed to go inside that temple. So when they were dancing around the circle, like, you would see no one else there except for hijras. So that was challenging to get access within that place. But obviously, once I spoke to them, we had to, like, make sure we take our shoes off. You have to sometimes, you know, say certain things. You have to, like, bow down to them. And they actually gave me access inside their house. I've got loads of footage, but it's just hard to include it all. It was beautiful. It was an amazing place. Another kind of challenge was filming in villages, so in the streets. Like I said, there were so many people there, and just filming the physicality of it is always a challenge. You probably know as well. Just kind of getting your camera in places, and then there's public there, and there's always an audience. So outside the gate, there was like thousands of people just watching us, watching me. So because although I'm Indian, although I'm brown, they know that I'm not, you know, Indian in the sense that I'm British. So when I do go there, everyone kind of, there's a crowd, and it kind of makes it really kind of not smooth, because although I want to focus on the subjects, it becomes then about me, and that's not what I want it to be about. So that's always a challenge when I'm filming in India.
Did you encounter any fathers who were accepting their child as they are, or it was just the mother?
Yeah, so no, I didn't. So the woman in purple, Balak Masi, her father was not at home. I did ask about her father, but what I kind of got was that they didn't want to talk about it. I know her brother doesn't accept her, whereas Sanya Masi, the one in yellow, she, you know, her father's passed away now, so he never really kind of was there to, I could ask. But no, I didn't come across any fathers. It's interesting though. Yeah, it's interesting.
There's several things that for me were really interesting. First one, it was their sense of duty. The fact that they understood what their position in life was, which was not really motivated only by the fact that they were transgender, but by the fact that they had a duty in terms of traditional or religious duty. So my question is, how did they position themselves in terms of, in relationship with transgenderism or transsexuality? Are they aware that they could be transgender or transsexual outside that sense of duty, or their world doesn't really allow them to conceive that? And the other part of the question is that if there's a class component to being a hijab, like someone from a higher class, would they choose to be transgender and get out of India, or would they try to belong to that community?
Yeah, so with the first part of the question, wait, I forgot what I was going to say. Can you just remind me what the first part of the question was? Oh yeah.
Relationship to transgenderism.
Yeah. With hijras, it's really different to transgender, and when I thought it'd cross, but it's completely different. So when I did sort of ask them, usually the answer was that with being a hijra, they've got a family, and they've got a community, in the sense that they see themselves as they've got mothers and they've got sisters within that community. So they don't really feel like they're alone. A lot of the time when I did ask that kind of question was the fact that they don't really feel like they have anywhere else to go except for this community. So they're all kind of in that same journey, but they stick together as a clan. I guess another reason was that when I did ask them, they always used to come back to the religious angle, where they'd say that, we're connected with the mother goddess, and this is where we belong, and the community that does kind of resonate with that is the hijras. With the second part of your question, more class, I guess it really depends on where you live in India. In some places, it's really kind of modern, and LGBT is accepted and recognized. There's like centers now, and there's events and everything around it. So I think it's growing in some places, but in villages and things, they don't really know any kind of where they could go, if that makes sense. And so their only option is being a hijra, or leaving is not even an option really, because then you're just alone and stuff. So, hope that kind of answers. Yeah.
Yeah, there, just to specify that, maybe you can correct, but there is two kinds of India, we could say. That there is really the India of cities that is very modern and like what we can have here, and then homosexuality and gender issues are very open. But there is, the main part of India is actually villages, and in villages the tradition is stronger, and I mean, it's more traditional, so it's kind of different. So what we saw here in your documentary, I think, is more representation of the reality of the villages. And I think it comes back to the question that Michael had for you before, is what is the difference between transgender as you saw it with the hijra and the transgender that we can have in the West, for example?
Yeah, so, well, the main difference is the religious aspect, and the hijras are usually quite spiritual. They have this kind of female power, so they talk about it a lot in the documentary, but they see themselves as neither male nor female, so they do the whole castration process, but they don't fully transform into a woman, if that makes sense. But when they do castrate, they believe that all the sort of the blood that's pouring out of them is all the bad male energy, as they quote, and they are becoming more stronger, and it doesn't pain them, so they don't have anesthesia or anything, because they are connected with Mother Goddess. It doesn't, hurt them in any way. They have to stay in a room without being seen by anyone. They just use cotton wool, Dettol, and heated rod. And it's part of tradition, it's part of a culture. I mean, even I was shocked when I was able to get hold of this archive footage. It looked just like a Hindu marriage. So it's almost as if they're marrying into the community, and they have these kind of vows and values that they will live upon throughout.
I don't know if I can make a parallel with what I was explained before with the symbolic of the lingam, the fact that it's the male and the female archetypes that are actually in one entity. For me, the Hijra, the way I understand them, is, as you're saying, is more than, it's not just they're becoming female, they're actually becoming the third gender. It's the reunion of the two, of the male and the female. It's more like what we can see in the shaman of South America, and they're like shamanic. They have a duty in the community to be kind of an in between the human beings that are male or female and the god that can be both. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but
definitely, yeah, it does. Yeah, they see themselves as avatars of the Mataji, of the Mother Goddess. And so even like if you look back at history, because they were not classified as either male or female, they were trusted with the princess, so they would protect the princess. And then when British came and they colonized India, they saw them as a threat because they were protectors. And then obviously they were criminalized, and etc., etc.
Did you ask them about, the goddess that they pray to, or that they become part of this, is the Bahucharama.
Bahutaraji, yeah.
And that this goddess, many of the goddesses or gods have a particular animal they ride on.
Yeah.
So Shiva rides on the ox.
Yeah.
Kali rides on the tiger. Ganesha has a mouse.
Yeah.
And the Bahutara she rides on a rooster.
A rooster. She says it at the end.
So that kind of is there. I wonder if you inquired about how did the community chose this particular avatar of the goddess to kind of give their allegiance to.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually go into asking that. Should have asked that. But it's fascinating. I mean, there's so many things. I was actually going to go Bahutaraji, which is a village full, just based on that, but I didn't get access. I contacted them, and I just couldn't get inside of the community there. But do you know anything about the...
Not about that,
no,
but
I didn't, yeah.
I just wanted to tell that yesterday when we met, when I picked you up at the airport and we started chatting, I said, do you know anything about the clapping, what it means? Because I was making research when I know she was coming, and I read that the clapping that they're doing is actually the sound of the sexual intercourse. And this is why they keep clapping, and Meera came up with another symbolic that you can say.
Yeah, they said it was the like a special sort of energy and power, which is like the blessings they give. So at that moment in time, they can either bless you or curse you, and it kind of becomes like a stomp. You know when it's
the seal in a way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that there is many symbolics, but it's not that there is one.
It's also their signature. So they tried to teach me it. I tried to do it. I just couldn't do it. You can't make that sound or that energy as they could. Try it. I'm kidding. Who's gonna try it? Yeah. And also when you do it, it's kind. You feel the energy. It's really interesting.
I was wondering that gesture is kind of, it's a broad gesture, it's exaggerated. It's like somebody, male trying to be female, but accepting so that's not a female clapping, it's got this like broad gesture to it, and as if that's what they've made their own.
Yeah.
That,
it's become their signature kind of. It's part of their identity, and that's why they always perform that or do that whenever they go to weddings or if you see them in the streets. And the reason why they do it even more is to show that they're not fake, because nowadays a lot of people, a lot of men just dressed in saris go inside train stations just to make money. And so what they do now is they lift up their skirts, they do that clap to show that we're real. So in the shot where she was about to pull her hair out, she was actually going to lift up a skirt, but one of her friend at the back said, "Don't sit down," and I was like, dang it. But in fact, there's another story to that as well. When I was filming, part of my crew was elsewhere, and I turned around and my crew wasn't there. I was like, where is everyone? Because I'm usually on camera. So I was looking for my sound person, and my crew was my family actually. So my another story. So I really think small crews are really good for documentaries, just because, especially with what I want to do, I want to try and cinema verite, just try to get the utmost truth. And so I try to say as less people as possible, just because I don't want the eyes to be on us, but to be on them. And so I looked back, and my mother and my grandmother weren't there, and they came out of a room and they looked quite bedazzled. And I was like, where did you guys go? And they were like, oh, she just lifted up a skirt. And I was like, I wanted to see, I was like, in the most non-weird way, I need to see. I've been researching this for ages. I got to see what's under there, kind of thing. And then I was like, so, can I see? Like the most non-weird way. And she was like, yeah, you can come into the room. And I was taking my camera with me, but she told me not to film. And she lifted up her skirt, and there was nothing there. I don't know how else to describe it, but there was nothing there. But she just said that they would just pee out of a hole, and that's it. Sorry. Which fascinating, but yeah, it's crazy. It's just really, really interesting. Yeah.
Maybe a stupid question. So they are not accepted by the society, but at the same time they go to wedding and they do some stuff to the room and so bride. So I'm asking how the society. We saw the parts from the part of the teachers, but how the society look at them and why they society accept them in weddings or in a particular case with their children also, but at the same time they refuse them. So I'm not understanding this part.
Yeah, so in some places they are accepted more than other places. I think the answer is fear. I think they're worried about, because they can curse, and because it's so closely connected with God and religion and Hinduism, that, fear just makes them want to, believe them. So even if they do come to weddings, people do end up giving them money because they don't want to be cursed. And again, that's based on rumors, which I did ask one of the subjects, can you curse people? Is it true? And she said, yes, it is true. And she said that one person, I think, said something in the street, and now he's bedbound. I guess I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe, they have those special powers that they have are, do go a long way. And so I think fear is definitely one of them, why society does kind of accept them to some extent. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, what's your process for getting consent from your subjects, and how do you explain where the documentary is going to be viewed and stuff?
Yeah. So whenever I film anything, obviously I always meet them first. For the first week, I spend time with them without a camera, just to get to know them. Because I just want to show them that I genuinely care about you, and I don't want to just get amazing footage. During that process, they usually end up asking me loads of questions, and I do say, it's going to go into festivals, and they don't really actually understand what film festivals are or anything. If you say something like TV, then they understand it, but you have to kind of explain it in a really simple way. And then usually I just kind of show my passion for why I want to do this, and the fact that I really wanted to just show them as they were, by me just staying with them throughout the day, they kind of trusted me, and then they were like, okay, no, she's actually genuine, she's not just any old person from the media, which they've got before. And so I guess that helped with the trust. And then obviously consent forms as well. They have to get permission from their gurus as well, so I'd have to go to the gurus who are scary. Yeah.
Is there a big difference between generations of how the younger generation of speakers see themselves compared to how their gurus do? Because of influences from the West and so on?
Yeah, definitely. So their gurus some of them are really quite elderly, very traditional, and if you'd ask them anything, they just kind of talk about the Mother Goddess a lot. Whereas the younger generation, so I'd probably say Balak Masi, the one in purple, she was very modern, in the sense that she, there was a moment where we were going somewhere, and I think she was going to the beauty parlor, and I was with her on the bike, and my other crew was following me in the car, so I didn't really have much of kit with me. I just had my camera, and I was filming her, and we stopped at a place, and she's like, "Oh, Meera, can I tell you a secret?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I started filming and everything, and then she's like, "I have a boyfriend," and I was like, "What?" And then she takes a phone out and she shows me a picture of him, and she's like, "What do you think?" And I'm just like, "I don't know." What do I say? I'm trying to film you. But she's like, "Don't tell anyone, because my guru is not supposed to know. We're not allowed to have boyfriends, and it's against our tradition, and please don't tell anyone." And so I could clearly see, she'd have Facebook. She had business cards, and she'd have people in the streets coming up to her that know her, and so you could see that she had a lot of social media. It's like she had this brand identity. It was really strange. But in terms of generation, yeah, definitely, that was really fascinating concept. I received a phone call recently. I'm still in touch with them, so I filmed this in 2015. So I still try to stay in touch with them. And I rang her, I think, and she said to me she just got married. And I was like, how? Because according to the Supreme Court in India, Hijras are not allowed to marry. But I guess they must have paid the court and done some sort of bribe. But she's married now, so yeah, it'd be interesting to do a part 2 documentary.
Can you just tell us what's your next projects, what you're working on? I think 2 documentaries, something.
So I'm currently working on a feature-length documentary. It's currently in post-production. It's called Majur 9195. Majur stands for labourer in Gujarati, and it's a purely cinema verite piece on the female construction workers in Gujarat. So I follow, so I went over India for about 2 months last year, and I intensely filmed these women from slums to working in construction. Some of them were like pregnant, some of them just working barefoot, glass everywhere, cables everywhere, children, they're working hours and hours, they're the backbone of India's economy. So the film takes us through this entire journey from when they wake up, 4 a.m. to like midnight, just to kind of show, again, the truth about them. Everyone if you travel to India, you probably see them on the streets all the time carrying bricks and sand. I just kind of go a little bit deeper inside and just kind of filmed their lives from the start. So that's one of my documentaries. And my second one, which I'm still filming-ish, is called Glass Walls. It's a documentary on vegan activists in London and some cities, Leicester, Birmingham, Nottingham, and it's just kind of following the activism that they do, and just kind of showing, maybe what an activist is, but kind of breaking the stereotype as well, because a lot of the demonstrations that they do are peaceful, and I guess showing the truth through that as well. So they go to vigils outside slaughterhouses. So again, similar to how I follow with the camera with the hijras, I'm following them, trying to get my camera in places which you're not allowed to. So yeah, revealing that.
Thank you very much.
No problem.